everybody for your patience and your willingness to come with me to take a journey up the stairway to heaven. Alright, so we're here now with episode 5, Auset, the God Mother, Water. And I have the word spelling M-A-D-E-R, which sounds like mother, but in a more blunted sound, MATER. And then I have the word water right underneath it, and it sounds similar. Okay, this is here so that we can see how the English language is used to convey meaning, and it has a sort of a trickiness to it. So this is just a little tidbit about the language and how it's used in everyday religion, how it's used in everyday speech, and so forth. But just wanted to show you that the D can be transposed to T and vice versa, as well as the M turned upside down to make a W. Let's see, we know that the two share the same essence, and the essence is that of Auset, which is which is the principle of water, the lunar principle, and the seat of emotions, and the seat of the intellect. Okay, so but before we move forward, I wanted to be able to recap some important points that we discovered in the perfection of the human body, which is the earth vessel, and that would be on our past episode. So previously, on episode 4, Earth King, Raising of the Jedi, we witnessed the mastery of elements, that's time and space, to perfect the physical body. That would give support to the rise of the mental and spiritual aspects of the human being. Here are the two keys, one of which I forgot. Okay, the first being the concept of perfection. The concept of perfection merely suggests that things are balanced. Okay, it doesn't mean that you're more pious than the next person. That doesn't get you perfect. Okay, anybody can be pious but be totally out of balance and totally out of law, out of a lawful nature, outside of it. Okay. The second concept, which I left out, was the actual key to assure that the human body has its state of balance, and that's physiologically is the pH. Now, when we think of the pH, we're looking at the acidity and the alkalinity of the body itself, and that occurs through the fluids. Okay. Now, the mineralization of the fluids is what allows for alkalinity, and that's what the mineralization is with the earth. So in order to move into perfect health, we have to add minerals to the water. Okay, and that moves us into the next sphere, which is episode 5, is Auset. Who or what is this phenomena called Auset? Okay, Auset. We have to go into some of the let's track into some of the religions of the world. Okay, we have in some of the Chinese religions. We have Kuan Yin. Kuan Yin is one in China of Auset. It's a form of Auset. We have Yemaya in the Yoruba tradition. In the more modern Egyptian tradition, we have Isis. Okay, so Auset and Isis are one and the same. We have in the Sumerian, we have in the Sumerian tradition Ninmah, who is the mother of all mankind. She brings mankind into the world. And in the more familiar Christian tradition, Auset is none other than Mary. Mary in Catholicism is considered the mother of God, and we have a prayer that we would say in school. Um, as I've mentioned before, I went to Catholic school, Notre Dame, and this is what we would have to memorize: Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for our sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen. Okay, so we hear a lot of the words that are actually described that actually describe Auset, the mother of God. Okay, and we look here at the little child. This little child is the one who would be king, and the king would be here. But once the king establishes his equilibrium, then he has the aspiration to become God. Okay, so Holy Mary is the mother of God. Okay, and God starts off as her child. Okay, in the physical world. Okay, all right. So when we look at this, we also want to find on the macro tree where Auset is. Okay, Auset is just above. She's number 9, just above the number 10, the Earth. Okay, and so at this point on the macro tree, we can see that this is the moon. She is related to or associated with the moon, and the moon has been associated with concepts such as sin, and there's actually in the historical lore, there is actually a male a masculine aspect called sin. Okay, and we find that there has been other physical beings who have adopted the avatar of sin, such as Nanar, or Nanar Sin, who was the person who is supposed to be the living representative of the moon itself. Okay, and then we have in the Hebrew writings letters that is called Shin, which mean the same thing. But in this context, we can say that Shin is recognized as something that is incomplete or falling short of. Okay, now what exactly is that falling short of? Now we're going to move just a little forward just to kind of give the full perspective of what we're talking about with the moon and the Shin and the relationship between that and sin. We can look at the moon in a position on the tree as falling short of the intellect. It's just below the intellect of logic and the intellect of creativity, of artistic creativity. And so we can see that it also falls short of its kingship as well. So this is what has been this is what is being the example of being somewhat incomplete. But when we look at concepts of being a lunatic, the unbalance of being a lunatic is one who is under the influence of the moon. Okay, and so we have to see the positive and the negatives and in those kinds of concepts with that. But I just wanted to make sure to bring these things into play because those terms are being used in the church and they mean something totally different. And I'm just bringing all of these together so that you can see where it lies on this schematic in the annals of history, in the annals of mythology, and so forth. Where it all comes from. It comes from the indigenous African culture, the spiritual culture that brought forth the tree of life from the flower of life. Okay, so that being said, we want to continue and take a look at some of the attributes of Auset.